Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hunters, haters, and hitmen. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. Yesterday morning, I woke up super early, like 3:50 in the morning, to go fishing. So it was a great reason to be getting up early to go fish with my brother Luke over in Bradenton, Florida. And while I was just kind of getting ready and having my coffee and doing some of the small little rituals that I do before I get up and go anywhere, even at 4 in the morning, I couldn't help but get on Facebook like I normally do and just kind of scroll around. It's where I get my news. There's literally zero news watched our house ever. I don't think news has ever been turned on, and you guys have heard me talk about it before. It's all one-sided, super negative. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't care. But I do get my news from Facebook. So I was just kind of scrolling around. It was wild. Absolutely wild. The first three things that I saw were about what I'm just mentioning here. And I know Facebook is kind of no different than news. They try to get you riled up and show you things that you're interested in and also maybe could be one-sided. I don't know. But the very first one I saw was these young guys, men, I don't know, 18 years old, I'm just guessing. And they had together gone out on a gator hunt and killed a really large gator to the point it made news. It was a really big gator. And you would have thought by reading the comments that they had killed everyone in the comments' own personal dog. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, man, am I dreaming? What is going on here? Because 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago for sure, it was a great catch or kill, not really catch and release. It was a awesome feat. I mean, it was 100% legal. There's, people have to pay a lot of money for gator tags and to go do this. I mean, I know Peter Deeks charges, $5 to $10 grand to go get trophy gators like that. There's a lot that goes into that in scouting. And once again, it's legal. And it's also, those big gators can do a lot of harm to people and pets, etc. And so anyhow, it was mind boggling how our country is so divided and just so hateful. I mean, there was absolutely hateful, just crazy comments, from people like, that gator never did anything to you. Let him live. Oh, he made it for 60 years. And why can't you just let him rest and sit there in peace? Just, it was nuts. It was like these people who never met this gator and acted like it was their best friend that they went to high school with. I mean, it was crazy, the emotional attachment to this gator. And it's just, our people just seem to be absolutely crazy. And there's a message to all this as well as I go through each one of these. And then, so that's the hunters and the haters. The hitman though, this was another wild one. This guy I follow, his name is, Pastor Locke, Greg Locke. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, Locke. And he was away from his house. Thankfully, he had one of his daughters was still at home, and there was a hitman or some crazy man, I guess, that shot up his entire house. I mean, destroyed his truck. Bullets went into the house. Thankfully, the daughter was on the other side and was not injured or hurt. But someone went and shot up this pastor's entire house, some crazy person or a hitman, because this pastor in particular is pretty loud. He is pretty bold in his faith and doesn't really back down. At the same point, never makes threats to people like that, and certainly would never resort to violence or anything. He's just doing his thing up on the pulpit and through Facebook. And someone went to all the way to the point of trying to kill him and his entire family by shooting. I mean, it would look like hundreds of bullets into their house. I mean, it was crazy how many bullet holes were everywhere. I mean, truck destroyed and house destroyed. I mean, some went into the in the bedrooms. I mean, it was sad. It's sad that we have to live like that for believing in what we believe in. Things like hunting that has been going around forever, and things like God and believing in Jesus are now somehow bad things. And it goes back to one of the podcasts I did. I believe it's probably the most downloaded unchurched and certainly most commented unchurched podcast, the one on this kind of war in America of these two sides. I call them good versus evil, or woke versus non-woke, whatever you want to call it. But it is sad, though, that we as Americans our country actually says the word United States of America. That was kind of the whole point when we started this thing, right? Doesn't mean everyone's going to believe the same thing always. It doesn't mean that we're all going to have the exact same views on every single topic or subject. Of course not. Never has, never will be. But at the end of the day, we're still united and feel like we're all representing and empowered by and support one country. And the last time I remember that, and I'm 45, and the last time I remember that happening was after 9/11, sadly. I was in my senior year at college at Georgia Tech, probably like you. You remember exactly where you were when you saw it, or when someone told you about it, and you watched the TV and just watching this replay of the towers and the smoke and the planes. I mean, it was almost surreal, right? It was nuts. And shortly after that, that was when I remember just everyone put their American flag out there. Everyone was united. Everyone was ticked off. Everyone was a little bit also just scared and frightened. Like, is it going to happen again? These terrorist attacks that could happen anywhere. And people bonded together. There was neighbors that normally might not vote the same way, or normally might not really like hunting, but would take their hunter friend and help them. People were helping. They were doing things for others like they had never done before. And sadly, that didn't last very long, did it? I mean, it went on for the full year. I mean, it was September 11th, obviously, when it happened. It certainly went on for that rest of the year, but it just seemed like over time it kind of faded. And, we go about our lives, not that we ever forget that moment. And especially if you had family impacted in it, you never forget that moment. But it seems like that bonding and that feeling of being united just slowly went away. And it's so sad. And now I feel like we're at this full tilt, absolute opposite. Everyone hates each other. No one can agree on everything. And if it's something you don't agree upon, you got to voice your opinion and be as loud about it as possible. I wish you could have seen this hunting thing, and that was just one of many. It just happened to be the very first two things that that showed up in my my Facebook feed, and that's when I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. One, to see someone almost get their family killed for believing what they believe in, right? And number two, that just because someone went hunting and did something completely 100% legal, that they're now made to feel like they're the worst people in the world, and they're getting threats from people. I mean, there's literally people saying, "Oh yeah, well, Mitch, and I'll shoot you next time. See how you feel." Like, what the heck is happening here? It pains me. It pains me to see that. It pains me to see how divided we are. And kind of the overall, message here is, one, I still believe we have to be super vigilant. We have to take what we believe in, whether it be hunting or fishing or God or Jesus, and we have to stand behind that, right? Because, there are people out there, lots of them, that want to take that away, that want to take that freedom away from us. The fact that this guy who's just a pastor, right? He's not promoting hate. He's not promoting anything but God and Jesus, and he's getting death threats and people hitmen showing up to his house, his personal home, and trying to shoot and kill his family. I know there was a shooting there. Someone came in with a gun at Joel Osteen's church there in Texas this year. I mean, just a lot of craziness going on, and there is certainly this good versus evil type of a thing. I mean, it feels like Satan is entering some of these people's bodies, right? Their souls. It doesn't make sense any other way from at least how I see it. Now, the big question is, how do we get united again, right? I mean, what is that answer? You love to say you just keep praying. I feel like that only goes so far. At some point we do have to stand up. I do know at the end of the day, after this is where I'm going with all this, after reading the Bible multiple times, and if you have read the Bible, I mean, there's so many stories of this exact same thing happening. And obviously it wasn't in America, but so many times that these different civilizations and communities were one with God. They were united, and then half of the group goes off to worship something else. They were, idling a bronze god or whatever it was, or a really, really bad leader came in. It was these stories happen over and over again. It was this common theme where God's protecting a group of people, community, civilization, whatever. They're all united. They all believe in God. They put God first. Not perfect, just like America is not perfect, but they were certainly united and certainly putting God first. And then all of a sudden something bad happens and changes that culture, changes the belief of many. And then God comes in and fixes it, sometimes through war, sometimes through a famine, sometimes something crazy. But over and over again, that happened. And then God would bring an awesome leader into place. And then they would all start worshiping again, and the bad people would surely, but sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but they would surely always get pushed out, eliminated, killed, whatever. It happened over and over again. So I know God has his hand in this. I know he's up there watching every bit of it. And I know it's all for a purpose and all for a reason. And I do believe with complete 100% sincerity and some excitedness that we will be united again. I really do believe that. I know it's tough to feel that way, and especially after reading comments like, how could this ever get fixed? Well, I'm telling you, I mean, God did it over and over and over and over again. In the Bible, he's done it here in America before, right? We've had multiple times like this. We might not remember it because it's been a while, but there's been multiple times we had to face some pretty tough stuff in America over the last few hundred years. Right, going all the way back to when, pilgrims, came over. I mean, there was massive decisions that had to be made for their families and for freedom, et cetera, to do things. And some of them, ended up in wars. Some of them ended up in some pretty tough situations. But it always came full circle where people felt united again and had a common goal, right? They had common beliefs, not necessarily that they believed every single thing the same, but they believed that, there was going to be freedom in America and that we would have the right to grow and the right to prosper, the right to love one another and the right to free speech and all the things that we all agree upon, where now it just feels like things are falling apart and pieces are getting taken from us. So my other suggestion is stop watching the news because it is depressing. It got me kind of riled up at 4 a.m. Even as I found myself driving over to Bradenton, I was thinking about all this. And I mean, to the point I'm still talking about it now on a podcast the next day. So I do believe that watching some of this stuff is probably having maybe a negative impact on us. And had I not seen that, I don't know that I would have been any smarter or dumber or anything else. It just would have been, no, I don't know, who cares? But I can only imagine for the people that sit in front of a TV, and I've got some friends that do. I even got my parents every time I go over there. There's a lot of news going on. I think that's just what a lot of the baby boomers do because that was part of their culture is to watch the news, especially during political times. But I don't know. I would honestly urge against it. I don't think it does. I think it does more harm than good, personally. But that is your call. In the day, let's praise God, praise Jesus, stand strong in our belief still. This is not a scare tactic, and that's what they want you to do, right? The whole goal of that whole hitman thing, maybe they purposely knew that he wasn't there and most of his family wasn't there. It was more of a scare tactic, right? And that is what Satan wants to do, is to scare us away from believing, from being open about our belief. So that's to me, one of those lines in the sand, just like when we got our website shut down. I've told that story before. If you haven't heard it, long story short, we put the word Jesus on our site one day, and literally that night, the entire site got hacked, shut down. It's the first time and only time in 10 years it's happened. The day we put Jesus on our site, and I was like, nope, that is a sign that Satan does not want that on there. We're keeping it, and we have ever since. And so I would just urge you to be bold, to be brave. If you believe in something, stand up for it. And that doesn't mean you got to be a jerk about it, like some of these people on the hunting post. But at the same point, stand up for yourself. So love you guys. Just wanted to share that. It's been on my mind here for, like I said, a full day. And man, news. Love you guys. And if you have any thoughts, questions on this, I'd love to hear from you. It's joe@saltstrong.com. Otherwise, I will talk to you on the next Unchurched.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul, it was pain.